Welcome to stage 5 of the Cambridge Latin course. Today we'll be looking at plurals in Latin. So again, another quick recap of what we've done so far from stages 1 through 4. We've looked at basic sentence construction. We've looked at the nominative case, the subject case, the accusative case, which is the object case, and then we've looked at different groups of nouns, and we call them declensions, and we've talked about how these different endings for different groups for nouns in different groups indicate the role that a noun has within a sentence. And then we have sentences like ego dominum audio, I hear the master, also was poem portat, the slave carries the peacock. And having looked at the OST, IUE endings for the singular forms of verbs, we now have full verb lists. So you have OST and now mustis int for we, you plural, and they. Note how there are full verbs that are used, ambulare, sedere, currere, audire, with differences. Just as we had declensions, for which there have been 3 so far for different groups of nouns, we have the same thing for verbs, and we call them conjugations, of which there are 4, hence the full verbs. The first, with verbs like ambulare, has an ARE stem, which is retained in most of the forms of the verb. Sedere is similar for the second conjugation, with the E retained on the end of a stem. Currere has an E on the end of its stem, but that E changes to an I. And then in the fourth conjugation, with verbs like audire, the I is already in the infinitive form and then retained in the stem. So slight differences, but the key thing to remember here is that OST mustis int endings for the present tense. And then just again referencing back to the stage 4 CLC video, with the irregular verbs, we have a fully compiled list. Once again, you will see the comparisons and parallels between English, French and Latin, esse, etre and to be, of course in English. We had sum, est and est before, and now we have sumus, estis and sunt. Very much similar to nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont for those of us who study French, for example. And now we switch from verbs back to nouns. Now you'll remember from one of our earlier videos that nouns change their ending according to the role they play in a sentence, i.e. whether they will, for example, be the subject, in that case they will be in the nominative case, or they're the object, so they will agree according to the accusative case. And we have the 3 declensions, as I again referred to earlier. The first declension in the singular form has an A ending and then an AM ending in the accusative. The second declension, a US ending in the nominative and UM in the accusative. And then the third declension, the bargain bucket. The nominative case, there is no clear pattern, but there is an EM ending for nouns from the third declension in the accusative case. And then we have re-emerging patterns again when it comes to the plurals. So the A ending changes to an AE ending in the nominative case, the AM ending to an AS ending. For the second declension, the US nominative ending changes to I, and the UM ending to OS in the accusative case. And then for the third declension, both nominative and accusative case, nouns end in ES. So here we have a couple of sentences just to indicate the things that we've been looking at so far. So the first sentence, puer mercatores vident, the boy sees the merchant, and pueri mercatorum videt, the boys see the merchant. So all I've done here is just change the nouns from plural to singular form, or vice versa, And you'll note how not only does the ending of the noun changes, but consequently the ending of the verb changes as well, because the two have to agree, just like they would in English or French or other modern languages you'd be acquainted with. Now, once you've got the gist of that and you've understood how the plurals work, their agreements for both, and their agreements for both nouns and for verbs, you can have a go at a couple of exercises. So here's one from the Practicing for Language from stage 5 of the Cambridge Acting course, where you have to fill out the sentences with the correct form of the verb and then translate the sentence into English. Here are the answers for the first question, and these are the ones for the second. And here I've constructed a few of my own sentences so that, because in essence the Cambridge Latin course decides to teach you only the third person forms and then comes back to the first and second plural forms later on in the book, but I didn't think that was an intuitive way to do things, so I've just had to create a few sentences of my own for you to have a go at yourself, to translate using mainly the words from previous exercises. And here are the answers. So you get to practice a mix of singular and plural verbs, nouns from different declensions, and also the first, second, and third person forms of verbs in both the singular and the plural form. Thanks for listening, and hopefully this was helpful.